Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Sensual Goat, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
I'm very pleased that you left a little pause after that, so I can start my recording again. I'm very well. Let's do housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Swan.
Did I hear black swan? Black swan going once, going twice. Black swan it is. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
You're going to need a horizontal plane of reference if you're going to claim axial rotation.
That's correct. You will need a flat Earth for that. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
You'll need a flat Earth for that as well.
Well, no. If you're going to claim a globe distance, that's a heliocentric distance extrapolated through Kepler and Huygens, then yeah, you will need a flat Earth for that. But just asking if you've got a distance, nobody's inferring one at that point, though, are they? No offence to you, Sensual, but
You'll need a flat Earth to make one.
Exactly.
To
How
claim
would you
one.
get it?
To claim one, as has been claimed, but retroactively we're inserting the answer, right? Is there any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Negative.
Any evidence that you can have pitch data on a globe?
Negative. Pitch data requires a horizontal plane to pitch from.
It's not that it requires it, it's demonstrating it in the measurements. Earth is measured flat in the pitch data. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
It wouldn't be an angle from a curved baseline.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you must measure Earth flat in order to acquire elevation angles to produce maps, for example. Earth is measured flat.
That's correct.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
For a concept, no, concepts don't need that validity. It's a concept.
Yeah, you can't observe natural phenomena in pseudo-Riemannian fourth-dimensional geometry. There is no phenomena to observe. Correct, George. What about any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
They're not science to start with, so no.
And yet we hear these words like prediction, hypothesis, experiment, all the time from charlatans and frauds. What do you know? Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius? No?
Any the horizontal plane to claim
got
one.
Pretty close.
Oh, got two answers. Go George, then Sensual.
You're going to need a horizontal plane because a radius value is a straight line.
That's correct, you will, and they do acquire their radius from a flat plane measurement. Go ahead, Sensual.
Apparently Alberuni got quite close.
Alberuni measured Earth flat. He's taking a dip angle. That's a depression angle after measuring a flat plane and then parallel eye level with surface level. Biruni's measuring Earth flat. Same as the Earth curve calculations. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Yes, the force.
You're going to need at least 3 containers to demonstrate that.
I don't know about 3 containers. You just need containment for gas pressure, the pressure we're all breathing.
According to someone the other night, they said as long as you have a force, then you can maintain gas pressure without a physical container.
Yeah, I'm asking for evidence of that. Baseless assertion isn't going to cut it, Neil. We'd need a demonstration of gas pressure without that containment in order for it to press on.
No, you won't. You won't get that. You'll just get a lot of mumbo jumbo rhetoric, but no physical evidence of gas pressure without containment.
Speaking of which, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, wouldn't you have to go to the center of the Earth
Not my
to
claim.
provide evidence?
Not my claim. Alrighty then, thus concludes the housekeeping questions. In case anybody was wondering, the generalised subjects that we always talk about, those would be them. They mark the end of argumentation that's gone through the mill here in Flat Earth debate. The last one being any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth was the first housekeeping question. Paul Voigt suggested he had evidence of the self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. He said, "I'll be right back," 6 or 7 years ago.
I think you missed one question, though.
What did I miss?
Is there any evidence of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica?
We don't ask that question. Fascinating though it is to observe such a ritual of the sun above your head and then offer up measurements of a flat Earth whilst declaring you've destroyed the flat Earth that you're measuring when suggesting those measurements will tally with the globe Earth. Very interesting people and their cult-like behaviour and their rituals that they have partaken in down in Antarctica. But the ritualistic heliocentric behaviour may get discussed because we're going to be covering a video shortly. We've been covering it in the pre-show and we will continue to do so now after I shout out Pablo. Pablo, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much indeed for the support. Really appreciate it. You are under no obligation to do that, Pablo, and if it's your last dime, for the love of God, please don't give me your money if you're poor. I appreciate that I do need it, and I do appreciate it and need it, but I wouldn't want to be depriving anybody of their meal or their electricity bill being paid by supporting me. I just want to make that absolutely clear. But thank you very, very much for that support. Okie dokie. We are covering today a very small YouTuber called Waffle. And as a fellow YouTuber, I really hope for good things for this guy. Not only do I hope for good things, it's not often that I'll give an opponent a like, giving him a total of 200 in this instance. He is on the money for a lot of what he's talking about in this video. Now, we're about 1/5 of the way through, let's say maybe 1/4 of the way through this video thus far. But please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that won't immediately get removed by the YouTube censorship algorithmic bots or the videographer himself, in this case Waffle. So don't be antagonistic, passive-aggressive, sweary, just let him know. That's an @ sign. Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word, @ sign, and Nathan Oakley all together, bushed. Sent me so that he can share in the YouTube algorithmic love that I don't often get to pass on to a smaller YouTuber. It's typically us covering bigger YouTubers, begging for them to put comments and links to my video if they were to respond. Now, the same applies to this guy. If Waffle was to make a response, obviously I'd hope he'd do the same for me and put a link to my video, share in that YouTube algorithmic love. But for the most part, he studied cults, and where I have looked at Scientology as an interest and tried to draw certain parallels with Flat Earth, I failed to do so. And irony of ironies, we've now got my opponent, in this case, the guy with these X-eyes, Waffle, describing how our internal opponents that we critique, people like Jer and Dave Weiss, Witzit, etc., how they have behaved in a very cult-like way. Now, for the most part, we have been offering up the same criticisms that this guy, who's a glober, is now putting out to the public. So from my perspective, it's like, well, isn't this interesting? The way people who are now being labelled as shills, that's Jaron and Whitsitt and so forth, have behaved, leads this scenario, in conclusion, with a projection of the cult-like behaviour we typically talked about with regards to the globe, now being flipped onto us as flat earthers. The script has been successfully flipped, and now flat earth is being described as a cult. And for many of the things that we also, coincidentally as flat earthers, criticise our flat earth brethren, as we often describe them, of doing when we get chastised and, you know, supporting many of the cult-like behaviours this guy's highlighting. So for that reason, do pop along to his channel, Cyber Waffle. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. You don't have to give him a like. That's entirely up to you. If you like what he covers in this video, there's going to be things that you disagree with, depending on your ilk. And look at that. His likes are going up. So obviously people are, I can tell already, going along to his video and giving him likes and comments. Thank you so much. Hopefully my call to actions last long enough for people in the live stream to actually do this. There's 70 odd people watching. Please do toddle along. I'm not saying it for my health. I do actually want you to go and help him in the YouTube algorithmic love that we often are deprived of as flat earthers. So hopefully he'll share the love, pay it forward to me if he does do a response. But I do believe that's enough time to get people back after going and leaving him a nice, polite comment. So let's get into it. As you can see, we've already done a bit of it in the pre-show. Join as a member if you want to hear what we said about the first 3 minutes. Any other comments? I know we have covered this, so there might be people that want to say something before I do get back into it. Anybody from Discord or G+ want to add any comment before I do get back into it? No, Nathan.
Well, maybe I want to say something.
Yeah, feel free.
So yesterday I joined this Discord server for the first time because the recent events with the final experiment reignited my interest in the topic. And 3 years ago, I wrote something on metabunk.org, and I brought it up with some of your members on this channel, and I had some good conversations. And I'm kind of interested to know what the answer to this would be from, your side. Have you read the post that I'm talking about? And do you have an answer to it? And the reason I wrote it down is so that I could write down something without any emotion, something that's very dry. It's numbers and calculations. And anyone who can add, subtract, and multiply can verify for themselves whether there is a flat Earth underneath that system.
But we already know that.
Star navigation.
Okay. So first of all, no, I'm afraid not. I haven't read your article or post. I'm really sorry about that. But in terms of the panel that you're dealing with here, to answer that question that you're asking, we already know the answer to that question in terms of, the numbers ascribed or ascribable to Earth and its surface and its flatness. That's how it's measured. So from that perspective, you're preaching to the converted if you're trying to tell us how Earth's measured flat in that article. We already know.
Well, what I wrote was a response to what was being said by taking, in fact, very seriously what was said on this channel. The formula for calculating the nautical sky miles by multiplying zenith distance by 60 nautical miles, or 1 nautical mile per arc second. I took that very seriously, and I used that formula in an attempt to reconstruct the flat Earth map. So that is what it is about. And like I said, the reason I wrote it down and I didn't come on this channel is because I just wanted to write something down without any emotion. It's very dry. Anyone can check it for themselves if they go there.
I got all that. So okay, so it's not in respect to anything other than elevation angle measurements then. Again, we already know that Earth is measured flat with elevation angles to produce globe projections that are also flat. The maps are all flat. So you've tried to make it work with a flat map, but they're all flat. Okay, so I'm kind of a bit lost as to you're preaching to the we already know elevation angles can only be measured with respect to a flat plane, to then convert them into a globe, to then project them back out on flat maps. So I don't I don't follow. Sorry. Maybe
Okay,
I'm
so
missing something.
if you read the post, actually, you can see that I'm finding points in the system that are equidistant, 4 points. And I show how you can measure those distances using your formula that you pushed, you know, that picture. I like that picture a lot with a sailboat and a sun and an orange sky in the background, and there's a triangle, and it calculates nautical sky miles. I'm using that formula to show that there are 4 points in the system that are equidistant, and you can't put that on a flat map, which is why your project of trying to make a flat map will never succeed.
I haven't tried to make a flat
I'm
map.
showing
What are
you where that
babbling about?
leads.
What do you mean, my project to try and make a flat map? I haven't got a project to try and make a flat map. Maps.
Exactly. Thank you for
maps.
proving my point.
Why are you interrupting me? Maps are flat. What are you babbling about?
Well, if the Earth is flat, there should be a flat map where
No, the Earth
distances
is
You're not
flat.
listening.
correct
There was
if
a
you put a
short
ruler
pause.
onto the
Short
map,
pause, wasn't there?
right?
Why are you now postulating if Earth's flat? No. Let's just stick with the maps. You didn't acknowledge what I said. The maps are flat. Now you've changed this into an if statement about if Earth is flat. No. Earth's measured flat with multiple examples. Now I know what's going on. You're under the misapprehension that the measurements of Earth are irrelevant to how Earth is measured. You've described several ways of already measuring Earth flat. What are you talking about? You're trying to juxtapose those onto maps to see if they'll work flat? All maps are flat. None of what you're saying makes any sense.
Well, if the Earth was flat, then, I'm sorry for saying if, okay, if you're allergic to that, but
No,
what
it's
I'm
all right.
saying is there should be a map
Do you want to just
where
stop there? Just
distances
stop a
are
second.
correct,
Just
and I'm trying to reconstruct that
Stop.
in my
Stop.
metabunk.org
Hello?
post.
You're going to battle on through this crap that I've objected to and you're going to do it again. Stop. Listen up. Do you understand what I've told you? There is no if statement. That's Earth, measured flat. In your example, with elevation angles. With respect to the surface, you're measuring Earth flat for those angles, for you to plot into those systems. So don't now start for a third time with an if statement about Earth, which is factually measured flat with elevation angles in your own example. You understand?
So if you show the article on the screen, then maybe I can talk you through it.
I heard about your article. I heard what's in it. You're talking about elevation angle measurements, aren't you?
Exactly. Yes.
Right. So
I'm
we are.
applying the
Stop.
nautical sky mile
I heard.
formula
Stop.
12 times.
Guy, I heard. You don't have to just keep rambling through me. I heard you. You've said it. I heard. I got it. I don't need to read your article. You've told me what it's in it. It contains a starting point, measurements with respect to Earth and the stars and the sun and celestial items. These are measured with elevation angles. That's what you're measuring, right? Yes. You've already confirmed. Yes. So the starting point for your article will be measuring Earth flat on screen now, elevation angle to the sun. That's how it's measured. It's a line with respect to a base. I've got 20 definitions if you disagree that we will be measuring a flat Earth for elevation angles. That's what they are. Now you're saying you've taken those flat Earth measurements and found that they don't work with flat maps. All maps are flat. Now, as it stands, I've dealt with everything you've put to us. Now you're saying, go and read the article. Paint my house. I'm running a live show. If you want to verbally tell me about your elevation angles off a flat Earth and what you do with them and how they don't work flat, I'll point out all maps are flat. I don't have to do anything. I haven't got a straw man map project that you've tried to defeat. And your starting point in your example is a flat Earth measurement with elevation angles. You haven't acknowledged that. You've said, yeah, I'm measuring elevation angles. Then you're measuring Earth flat. Clear? Don't start your next statement with an if or a reiteration that I need to read a bloody article.
Okay, another question that I asked yesterday.
No, not a question.
Your members.
No.
All right.
Not a question. Acknowledge what I've said to you.
Okay.
Go on then. So we're measuring Earth flat with elevation angle measurements in your example. That's our starting point. That's the only measurement being described by you to then suggest that it won't work flat. No, you've measured Earth flat. I've now repeated it about 4 times with several pauses and you now saying, okay, and clearing your throat, you need to acknowledge what you've offered up so far that was in your article that you published were flat Earth measurements.
They are actually predictions of star
No, they're not.
positions.
They're not. They're angle measurements to stars. They're not predictions of anything, you dumbass. Do you want to define what an elevation angle measurement is, please?
Define what an elevation angle is?
Repeating what I've said isn't defining an elevation angle, so I'll do it. An elevation angle is the angle from the lower object to the higher one, while an angle depression is the angle from the higher object to the lower one. Both angles are measured with respect to the horizontal plane of the reference object. You want another one? I've got 20.
Right, the local tangent.
Shut up!
plane. Yes.
Shut up!
I'm
Shut up, Dumbo. Where did it say prediction in that, you lying piece of shit globe-believing deceiver who's publishing articles on Metabunk? There's no prediction in that. It didn't say prediction, you stupid dumbass lying zealot. Shut up. I'm berating you for lying. No, the word prediction didn't get included, so why are you agreeing with me? It fundamentally disagrees with that word you just used, prediction. No, that word wasn't in there. No, it's a measurement. Shut up! You dumbass lying zealot globe-believing wanker. I'm taking a shit on your stupid nonsense. I don't need your interruption. No, it wasn't a prediction, dumbass lying glurf. Now you can shut up and be berated by me. My name's Nathan Oakley. I'm the one pouring scorn on your lies and deceit, glurf. Prediction wasn't included in the definition of our flat Earth measurement with respect to a horizontal plane. That's a flat Earth measurement, the one that you said wouldn't work on a flat plane. You stupid man that's measuring Earth flat and saying it won't work flat. That's you dumbass. Now, I want to know something. I'll be asking some questions based on your deceit. You won't be launching into a repetition of how I should read your stupid article on Metabunk. It's wrong. Clearly. Because you've measured Earth flat. And then you have to come here and lie about it being a prediction. No, that's not what it's defined as. It's defined as a measurement of Earth.
Can I explain what I meant
Why is
by
this
prediction?
wanker glurf who's getting told off interrupting me? Shut up! Glurf, scum, liar, who now needs to shout me down in the middle of me telling him off for how wrong he was when he said it was a prediction. It's an Earth
Can
measurement.
I explain what I meant
there
by
he is.
prediction?
Remove him. Moderators, remove this zealot who can't take being wrong. He has to keep chanting through me like a bitch, like a zealot, lying, glurf bitch. Can't you take that your measurements of a flat Earth? I just defined it. You said it was a prediction, you lying bitch. You glurf scum liar who needs to lie to 122 live audience members based on what you published incorrectly about what defies a flat Earth. You measured it flat, Dumbo. When are you going to acknowledge that fact of an elevation angle you called a prediction incorrectly? You're just wrong and stupid. It's not a prediction. It's a flat Earth measurement. 7th time.
Can I explain what I meant by prediction?
That's non-responsive. It wasn't in the definition of the flat Earth elevation measurement that you made in your example and lied because you're ignorant or stupid about it being a prediction, which it isn't. I don't need a justification. I asked you and you didn't respond if you wanted one of the other 20 that does not say prediction, you stupid man. Now, listen up, globe-believing dick. I'm not asking you to reply. That was rhetorical. You are stupid. You're an idiot publishing things that are wrong. You're a misinformation peddler because you're telling people in that article that Earth isn't flat based on your flat Earth measurements of angles with respect to a horizontal plane, that you'll go on to a live stream later in life and tell people it's a prediction incorrectly. You stupid glurf-believing scumbag. I don't want to talk to you. I find you despicable in your behaviour. Why are you telling my audience that an elevation angle measurement, something you've conceded you absolutely require, that's you require Earth to be measured flat, is a prediction? Why have you done that, you scumbag liar?
The question should
Can,
be,
can
why
we
was
hear why he did it? It might be good. He said he was willing to explain what he meant by it. Can we hear why?
So we want to get why when I've just asked him why in the last 10 seconds, dickhead? Yeah, that's what I just asked, dickhead. Do you want to stick yourself on mute and stop asking things that were literally asked in the last 10 seconds?
Can I respond?
Pads, dickhead, pads, the one repeating the question I just asked. Go on mute, you stupid man that just
if we
repeated
give
what
him-
I asked.
Maybe if we just
Yeah,
give him, like, 30
surprisingly, yeah, I
seconds
want to
to
ask
explain
him
his
that.
point.
Shut up. I've asked him, he's not answering. You're answering by asking the same question.
Well, let's just give him 30 seconds and see what he says.
Right, you stupid dick that needs server muting. I run this show and I asked him the question you repeated. You think you need to keep waffling while this man gathers his thoughts? Why did you lie about it being prediction? It's not, it's a flat earth measurement. Go.
Can I explain what I meant by prediction?
That's non-responsive. He's been asked by me and another man. It wasn't a prediction. The man's a liar. Is non-responsive repetition of a request whether or not he can answer isn't answering my question. He's done it twice and someone else has interjected with the exact same question. He's not answering.
So in celestial navigation, you're supposed to calculate where a star is going to appear from any place on Earth as part of determining your position.
What do we
So,
measure?
That calculation
Sorry,
is, in fact,
calculations
a
come after the
prediction.
measurement, though, don't they? They come after the flat earth measurement, though, don't they? Yo, globe-believing, lying, glurf scum! The calculations come after we measure Earth flat, though, don't they? Need 30 seconds. That's a protracted silence there, glurf-believing scum that measures Earth flat and then says it can't be flat because the maps that are all flat can't be plotted flat because you're a dumbass, liar, scum, glurf who measured Earth flat. So after we measure Earth flat, you'll be calculating sphericity, you say. Yeah, we know that too. But we'll be measuring Earth flat. You yet to concede that. It's been 9 attempts by me for you to concede that you called a prediction incorrectly. Now, I don't care why you did that. You're a liar. I've got 20 definitions of the flat Earth measurement that you did use when publishing articles on Metabook about how flat Earth isn't. It is. It's measured flat by you. You don't need to interrupt when I summarise my conclusion about how Earth's measured flat by you. I know it's painful. And I need to take charge of my show when this glurf lying scum starts chanting through the conclusion that Earth is measured flat by him. He needed to chant through that conclusion, didn't he? I can take charge of my own show, though, can't I? Yeah, I'll make that conclusion again. Hopefully you'll listen this time. Earth was measured flat by you with elevation angles. Now you're into telling me about what you'll calculate and why it would be a prediction? No, we're only talking about the measurement. That's not a calculation, it's a measurement of Earth as a plane that you need. You need a flat Earth more than we do. You see, that was a conclusory statement as opposed to a question. Earth's measured flat by everyone, including this glurf liar who claims that measurements are calculations. Lie. No, they're not. They're measurements of Earth flat. He also said they were predictions. Also a lie. Glurf scum liar. Here to lie about his belief because he's published something on Metabunk. That was also a lie. Because in his article, he's presumably saying that Earth ain't flat. Yeah, it is. That's how he measured it, with his elevation angles with respect to a plane that he called a prediction incorrectly. So we're done with you now, glurf scum. We know Earth's measured flat. We already knew that. Thanks very much for telling us that you measured Earth flat too.
Yeah, he should have been dealt with in
Well, if
Discord
that
instead
works
of
for you and is
entertained.
intellectually satisfying to you, then
Sorry, that's an ad hominem attack, so I'll give another definition just for the audience's benefit, because this wanker's decided that what is satisfactory to me, no, it's how it's defined. The altitude angle, sometimes referred to as solar elevation angle, describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured... Just say that again. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. Sustainable by design altitude angle. Sorry, are you going to ad hom me with what's something that's satisfactory to me? No, you abject wanker, liar, glurf scum. It's not satisfactory to me. It's the definition of what you measured to make your example, to claim Earth isn't flat. It's about the horizontal plane the observer is standing on for your measurement in your example that you published on Metabunk, you lying glurf scum who measures Earth flat. It's not something that I'll just accept because it's good enough for me. It's how it's defined as a measurement of Earth that you need to measure for your example. Clear? Good.
He's gone.
Yeah, that's because he's at the point where he can't really help but tell me that it's just satisfactory for me. No, it's how it's defined. I've got 20 of them. Elevation angles that he needed in his example to claim that Earth was actually a sphere, and conclusively he could show it if I read his article on Metabunk. No, what he actually did was start by measuring Earth flat to then affirm his belief on Metabunk. That would be to deceive the less initiated. Now, as we're being described as the Godfather and the ninjas of Flat Earth, what you just saw was exactly that. The ninjas of flat Earth decapitating that moron based on his own measurements. That's what he did. Measured Earth flat with elevation angles. And then told, well, that's good enough for you. Well, no, it was your example of your measurement of Earth flat that you used to claim that maps can't be flat when they're all flat, based on the definition being a prediction of something. No, just a dumbass. That's what globe believers are, idiots. If you're watching this and one of them, you're an idiot too, because you haven't looked into this subject that your belief in a globe Earth is based on. Like he didn't. I had to educate him on it. That's what we do here on Flat Earth Debate. Educate people on their own faith in a globe and how Earth must be measured flat for their faith in a globe. Shocking, isn't it?
His first step is
Good
measuring
morning.
Earth flat.
Good morning, fellow ninjas, apparently.
Yeah, have you not seen John Thor's video?
No, I haven't seen it.
Being called the ninjas of Flat Earth.
Now?
He took the bit where I'm talking about Eddie Bravo and saying, look, you've been over at Dave Weiss's and Jaron's. This is before TFE. And gone, look, this is a crap dojo. You're going to get your nose broken, right? Come to our dojo and your opponent will slice their own head off. Like that guy did with his own measurements of a flat Earth. Yeah, that's what happens at this dojo. So
My question still stands.
He dropped it out and showed some of his rhetoric. I think he was playing fast and loose with the truth, saying a day later, because he's taken a clip of Eddie going, ether this and polars that and blah, blah, blah. And then is in the edit, it makes it seem like TFE happens. And then the next day, Eddie's like, Earth's measured flat. I don't care about how they faked it. They could fake a moon landing. But Earth's measured flat over and over again. And then he's phrasing that in a whole section that's based on me saying, well, I've spoken to Eddie. And I have. You know, admittedly mostly by text, but you know what I mean? He'll occasionally ask me a question about flat Earth and I'll answer him in a prompt manner. And in most recent times, I've gone, the guys you're hanging around with, Dave Weiss specifically, are charlatans. And that was pre-TFE, and now this all happens. You're like, I hate that I should have to, as we're about to do in this live stream, right, lean on the enemy of my enemy. If Jaron, Dave, and Whitsitt are my enemy, why should they be? They're flat earthers. Or true earthers.
They're not flat earthers. See, that's your problem. And I'm going to get this out. My indictment is to the Discord, because that guy came in and said he had good conversations with the people in Discord. Why wasn't his head chopped off immediately like Nathan just did? What the hell's going on over there?
Well, you know, I don't know. Why are you asking me? We're in the middle of a live stream. I've got a whole bunch of super chats I need to shout out, though. So let's start doing those, right? After Pablo gifted memberships, the super chats started rolling in, presumably because we're back to the good old days of fundies coming in wanting to share their pain. Tell us, oh, this can't be flat. I published an article on Metapunk. I took these flat Earth measurements and showed how they couldn't work flat. So it's definitely a bull. Anyway, shout out to him's sake. So flat Earth is a cult and tearing itself apart. Talent follows. I don't really understand that super chat, but thank you very much indeed, him's sake. Also, Goldie, shout out for you for gifting a membership. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Another shout out to him's sake. He says FED 2025 in full form. And then he salutes me. Thank you very much. Really appreciate all these super chats. Thanks to Sasha, or Unitox Femi as he goes by. Elevation profile of Holland. Explain everything. Thank you for the super chat. And then, is it Reggie? 23 says, music to my ears when I hear a globe believer tell me Earth is measured flat. Yeah, exactly. Righto. And thank you for joining as a penguin also, Reg Joe, 23.
He's from Holland, you know, Nathan.
Who, what, where?
That guy he's from Holland.
Oh, well, jolly good. I'm very
Because he was yesterday 24/7, and he said, I'm from Holland. And do you know people, the snail? Yeah, and he said, yes, snail law. No, that doesn't matter, because snail is born in my town, and nobody in my town believes that that's flat. And snail, there is a museum, and there is angles and showing that Aristophanes was right, something like that. And because of that snail. I think that snail of snail's law is born in Holland. I'm not sure. He was saying that.
I'm pretty sure it's Irish.
Oh,
most things are Irish.
There is another snail.
There's definitely an Irish equivalent somewhere.
Hi, Nathan. Just to go on with what Neil was saying, it's because Neil, I found out this morning, a lot of them still aren't going forward on the front foot with the elevation angle measurements and celestial navigation. I jumped in Discord politics, this morning, and there was a guy going on about the sun and gravity. I jumped in and I immediately just interrupted everybody and started talking about latitude, elevation angles, and within about 6-7 minutes, the guy ran off. Just didn't want to know.
Sounds
Put a false
familiar.
laugh on, and yeah, that's what they do.
I've got a vague memory of that happening about 5 minutes ago here.
Well, he made it sound like he was speaking to the people on our panel in Discord. That was my disdain.
He's only been here a couple of days, so he says. Anyway, that interlude was brought to you by Segway, totally unrelated to what we're hoping to cover today, which is this dude called Cyber Waffle. Now, there's a good chance that, given there was only about 70 or 80 people watching when I did the call to action earlier, now there's more people here than there was before, because there's 130-odd, 140-odd people watching now. Because I'll do my call to action again. So this guy's called Cyber Waffle, and often is the case that we are e-begging for shout-outs or algorithmic support from the people we respond to by suggesting they put a link to our video if they are to respond when we send our audience to them, which is what I'm doing now. So I'll put the chat back up. There is a link whizzing its way by. Oh, somebody's off muting. Was that Truth Acknowledged? Truth Acknowledged. Can you hear us? Can you go on local mute? Somebody had to put you on server mute. You're obviously near your mic if you're sneezing down it. You hear me, Truth Acknowledged? I have to put him on server mute. Why join? Okie dokie. Right, going like Cyber Waffle now. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that won't get removed immediately by the YouTube algorithmic bots or the videographer themselves, which is in this case Cyber Waffle. Just let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me and responded to his video. We have already covered 2 or 3 minutes of it in the pre-show, but we will hopefully now cover it, unless there is another interruption from a fundy, which will take precedent. Anybody else in Discord? Going once? Going twice? Let's get into it.
For example, claims like the outside world are trying to suppress you, your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, your beliefs. This follows on to other government-related conspiracies, like the government being willing to commit mass atrocities to you and your people, or that just in general you're being lied to by anyone who has a form of power or authority.
I mean, isn't it widely understood that we are, though? Like on mass, isn't that something even a normie understands at a base level? oh, my bad, son. Yeah, I should just accept that everybody always tells the truth. And the more power they have, the more truthful they become. What are you babbling about? It's like, I mean, you can tar cults with this in an extreme way, but it becomes farcical when you look at things that are actually peddled to the general populace as lies.
This helps reinforce that these cults are the only way that you can escape this matrix. Now, this alienation of the outside world and making people feel inclusive is the prime reason why Andrew Tate made an absolute ton of money out of his courses. It was effectively a cult. Number 6, we have the belief that former members are always wrong.
That's a nice baseless assertion. Was this guy an Andrew Tate fan? There's quite a bit of projection in this, as you can probably imagine if you're a fan of the show. Our show, that is. But, oh yeah, Andrew Tate fan much. X-Eyes. Shout out to Michael Kahn. Earth is measured flat. Bet ye can't show me the magical tool that measures curve, globies. Ye? Are you taking the mick out of Brian there, Michael? Only I can do that.
Wrong for leaving. There is no excusable reason to leave, and anything that a former member says or does that may question the integrity of the cult is immediately condemned publicly. More to the point, when people leave these cults usually tend to say that these people were paid by outside forces, or they're encouraged by outside forces to do something.
I've got to put my hands up here, right? And just because it amuses me greatly, I often lean into that garbage. Yeah, sometimes I'll lean into it with seeming sincerity because it amuses me, right? That is, you'll potentially say, oh, well, aren't you contradicting yourself? because you call them shills and play up the idea of a hidden hand. Yeah, at the next show, you're saying there is no hidden hand. This is all nonsense. Isn't that contradictory? Well, on the surface, yeah, but intentionally. That is to say, I ham up this idea that there's a power that should not be. No, there's a general consensus that wants to keep itself sustained, and people will do whatever is in their power, in this case Will Duffy, and potentially go down to a place to observe a 24-hour sun so they can affirm the consequent and suggest that they're antipodal on the bottom of a ball when they make such an observation. But because that's been pointed out, they'll set it up in false dichotomy, where it's not actually about affirming the consequent for a globe in antipodal assumptions, it's about debunking an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection, otherwise known as the Gleason's map, that flat earthers have ascribed themselves to, in a reification fallacy. And if you can debunk that, you can then start pointing out in a cult-like manner how the people who are saying you are wrong should be chastised and shown to be stupid. But irony of irony, he's not cottoned on to that particular aspect of this. He's just focused on the cult-like aspect that's now had the script flipped onto flat earthers with. Genius.
That made them leave the cult, whether that be blackmail, whether that be being paid to leave, whether that them being a shill for a different organisation. These are usually...
Have you all seen these claims? I don't know how much Jeremy was paid to do this. I bet he got at least $1 million. I've seen all those comments too, and when I see them, I must admit, I pee my pants. I find it very, very funny. If you're the one making those comments, I'm sorry that I'm laughing at you, but I can't help it. It's one of those things with things that I find funny. You know, you see it. The first time I watched this, when he put the bit with the Twin Towers on, I burst out laughing. Now, some people might understand why I burst out laughing when that particular moment came up, but there we go.
Usually the claims put forwards. Number 7 is that cults like to keep documentation of the persecution of their leaders. They will latch onto any scenarios where their leader was falsely criticised or their leader has been correct about something. Now, in the 1 or 2 occasions where leaders may have been right, maybe in a debate, when discussing with the outside world, these 1 or 2 occasions are then used to further push the narrative that their leader is always right and can never be questioned.
Yeah, again, in terms of what Ethereanism and Michelson-Morley experiments, heaven forbid that anybody should question this shit, right? We were ostracised for challenging the garbage nonsense that comes out of flat earthers quite frequently. So it's nice to hear this guy identifying that sort of stuff. Again, just to compare that and contrast that with us. No, we're not holding back some information, and you're not chastised if you want to disagree with us. Normally it's the other way around. Somebody comes along and tells us our Earth is measured flat. We point out our Earth is measured flat in their example, and they get very nippy with us and start telling me, for example, well, if that's good enough for you, that thing that I just used in my example that measured Earth flat, if that's good enough for you by definition, then fair enough, I shall run away. Yeah, that's the kind of cult-like behaviour that we get bestowed upon us when we point out that Earth's measured flat. But that's not a debating point that we could be called on or identified as doing well in a debate with. I mean, these are statements of fact, like the last guy found out. Statements of facts that he will have to adhere to retain his globe belief. In that case, elevation angle measurements off a flat plane that he used at the start of his example to go forth and calculate a globe with, and wanted to whistle past by telling me about how, no, we do definitely calculate globeness with these flat Earth angle measurements that I'm not acknowledging. These are facts, not debating points. So this doesn't apply to us either. It definitely applies to Wixit and Jaren and the other shysters who sold you all ether and garbage, Bigfoot, things like that. Ed?
He will say who is the leader, because he's pointing to the leader now. Because leader is wrong, but let's see who is wrong.
Fair enough. I mean, when people that are organically finding themselves in situations that can be described as this guy is, as cult-like, that's to say us in this example, they will look to people for leadership. Now, I've said this 4 days in a row now. I keep referencing a conversation that's a week old with Brian last time I was on the phone with him. Been a while, I should really ring Brian. Anyway, people are going to look to us for that leadership. And I've got absolutely no issue taking ownership of that and telling people around me that they need to take ownership of that when people look to them for that leadership. Yeah? That's not to say that I'm going to try and lead them off a cliff of Earth's a really big ball. I'm not here to do that. Quite the contrary. To the casual observer, it's like, find out Earth's measured flat. You don't need me anymore, do you? You can get on with your day. I mean, don't be so foolish to think that means you can enter into debate with people who have a staunch belief in a globe, because you'll lose if you don't know the arguments. But as far as an awareness of Earth and its measurements, and potentially, if you're a bit more clued up, those measurements being used to create a globe, that's all you need. You don't need me anymore. Now, given that there's a Western worldview that we're definitely on a globe by reification, and you appreciate people standing in the face of that, regardless of the ridicule that you receive from the cult leaders of the globe for doing so, those people will support me and appreciate the leadership that I've taken ownership of in this case, which I have. And I expect others around me to do the same. Not fall underneath my leadership, but take ownership of theirs. As I shout down one of my co-hosts. Go ahead, Neil.
Look how he's describing the beginning. He will describe deceiving by authorities. Where are authorities? We know where there are authorities usually, but there is no authorities here.
Well, not
That's
exactly.
me.
Well, no, I am
How
absolutely
people
on.
could be
I'm running the
deceived if
show.
there are no authorities.
Proving you right, rather. No, I am an authority. This is my show and I run it as such, right? Now, people don't like that because I have my biases on my show that I run and invite people into. But what I'm saying in terms of flat earth cult-like leadership that people would ascribe to people like Jaren, I can say, no, there is a fine line here, because I am literally telling those who are in my inner circle to take charge of this, to say, no, you become this authority now. We've been here 10 years and we're not the upstarts anymore. We're the gurus in the truest sense of the word. That happens after a time. You only establish that through time and experience, but also being in good standing and showing you've got a good reputation to do so. Like, you don't deviate from your rhetoric. Not stand by it at all costs because you're in a cult, and even if it's proven wrong, you still stand by it. No, that's completely different. But I'm just saying, there's people like QE, people like Brian, Neil, I include on this list, right? People are going to look to people who are in our group for counsel, for advice, for how to overcome arguments. Like Eddie Bravo's texting me when he's got a tricky argument that he can't overcome, and I'll break down the fallacy that's being employed. So, no, it's not that you need an answer to this question. It's that you need to identify the fallacious reasoning when it was put to you. Something like that. But almost without exception, everybody who comes onto the G+ panel, Sasha, I'm talking to you, I encourage to take ownership of that and say, no, be that leader that you wanted from Jaren and we never got.
Yeah. Understand.
About anything they say. And then furthermore, on top of this, in scenarios where these leaders are wrong, the context of the exchange is changed to make it look like that person was always right anyway, and the rest of the world is just too stupid to understand. Number 8 is part of the cult pipeline. When people first become interested in joining these cults, they're made to feel like they don't understand anything. They're broken down and they're dehumanized to make them feel guilty for not being part of the cult,
So I never went through that mill, and I don't think anybody here did either. So the moment we objected, with me, it was very public with Bob Nodell, rest in peace, in terms of my challenging his pseudoscience assertions with things like gyroscopes and pointing out how scientific validity is acquired through the scientific method. And I was immediately chastised and ostracised from the cult of flat Earth. That didn't stop me being a flat Earther. Earth is measured flat. But it did fall in line with what he's describing. So, from that point of view, the demoralisation, if you want to hear about that, go and listen to Morgile describe his experiences with these cult leaders, where he was demoralised, chastised, berated. Obviously not in public. Now, I wasn't going to tolerate any of that crap. So I was immediately an outcast straight away. So I didn't get to experience being, downtrodden by people like Bob Nodell. But there's plenty of people now coming to the surface describing that were in their inner circles. Now, it's meaningless words, but I'll say them anyway. Nobody within this circle is downtrodden by someone like QE, who's the most boisterous of us, let's just say. Everybody here has challenged QE at some point and ended up in a shouting match with QE. That is to say, you can assume the position of leader, but only through your actual worth that you've demonstrated with examples, and that's QE. It doesn't mean that because he's done that, he becomes the de facto leader of our group, and therefore what QE says goes. No. The same applies to me. I'm using it. It's easier with someone else, QE. I'm sorry if you hate me using you in that example. I could have done it with me. It'd just been harder if you're listening. But my point is that, there's no de facto leader here. When I say to take ownership of the leadership people will sort out, it's for the greater good. It's for the benefit of people in terms of information. When they approach you, maybe it's reactive. But it's not so we can, break them down in the way that Bob was done to Morgile, or potentially could have done to me if I didn't immediately say, sod this, and just moan about the fact that from there on in I'm labelled as a scammer.
Part of the club, being part of the community. They're made to feel not good enough and like they're not getting involved and not joining in if they don't toe the party lines of the cult, if they're not spreading the word, if
you're not talking about ether and accepting that Michelson-Morley pseudoscience is actually an experiment, then you can get lost and get out of the flat earth cult. We need this shit to be around us so we look really stupid. And if you're not prepared to do it, as I tell you, as the shill I am, then you can be ostracized, because we need to peddle ether in as many ways and as wide as possible. Whenever a flat earth comes up, make sure you look for that segue immediately. And if you're not, then you're not really a flat earther, you're a scammer. Right? Can you see why I picked this video to cover today, lads? Are you all engaged?
I'm sorry. Is this guy talking about the globe?
He's talking about flat earth.
Oh, really? I don't know, because everything that he's named so far sounds like globe nonsense.
Your mic's half disconnected, I think, Chocolate.
they're not dehumanizing people that don't agree with it. And very early on, it's taught to members that by asking questions that may disprove the beliefs of your cult or organization, that you should be punished and ridiculed for asking those questions.
Yeah. So, for instance, if we were to point out that the azimuthal equidistant map doesn't work because we've shown it doesn't work, that could be fobbed off and then monetized in apps and things, much to our detriment. Yeah. I mean, like I say, this is all falling in line with how Flat Earth, it seems, has been made to look. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to ascribe actual shillery and hidden hand and payments of $1 million to Jaren. There's a good chance he's just a useful idiot, and that's how things have worked out, because there's an overriding consensus that's trying to make that be the case, and he happens to have gone along with it at the behest of Will Duffy, much to Jaren's detriment. Now, from that point of view, you might go, well, I could almost feel sorry for Jaren. Yeah, he needed better discernment, but he shouldn't have been in a leader position, and he stepped down as a result of this. Now, consequently, if you want to look at it this way, there's a lot of things that are being spun into a cult-like behaviour of Flat Earthers that's been led by Jaren. Leaves a bitter taste in... I'm smiling. I shouldn't. Let's try and put a straight face on. That might leave a bitter taste in many of you who have towed the line with these tossers. For us, it's just amusing, because suddenly the enemy of my enemy is my friend. This is a globe believer. Just to round out what Chocolate's point was.
Because logical questions are considered stupid in the context of a cult. Number 9 is arrogance. By simply being part of the cult, you are better. You know more than everyone else.
Oh, I didn't need Flat Earth to feel that way. I've always thought I'm ace. It didn't matter. When I was a rep, I was the best rep there was. All those other reps, nowhere near as good as me. This is the arrogance level's just me. It's nothing to do with the Flat Earth cult. Quite the contrary, I was ostracised from that. Go ahead, whoever else wants to tell me how wonderful they are.
Oh, yeah, Nathan. I think I'm wonderful as well. But I missed the beginning of this. Is this guy pointing out that if you can understand and demonstrate how the Earth's measured flat, you're in a cult? Is that what he's trying to say?
No, he's saying that the people that we would be telling within Flat Earth that they should be telling Earth is flat to their audience members, and potentially shouldn't be talking about ice walls, domes, azimuthal equidistant projections and ether, because it might end up looking like they're stupid or in a cult. We didn't specifically say they'd look like they're in a cult, but this guy, by chance, lucky old him, is getting a bit of love on the opponent's side because he's doing it. He's tied it all together. So he's saying Flat Earth, although it's a stereotype fallacy, is like a cult for all the objectionable reasons that we've been putting forward for the last 2 years. Make sense?
Get it now, yeah. Thanks.
Everyone else is wrong, you are right. And number 10, a belief that the leaders of the cult have exclusive means to knowing the truth, regardless of their qualifications.
Yeah, when you say knowing the truth, it makes it seem like it's almost subjective. It's been made to be perceived as subjective by a cult that could be perceived around heliocentrism that came from the Roman Catholic Church. 150 people watching. Woohoo! Please share the show if you've not done so already. Smash that share button. It's only a couple of clicks. Stick it on your favourite outlet, MySpace, Bebo, whatever you're using. If you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell. Tell it you want all the notifications because I am Ace and you will want them.
Qualifications.
I actually forgot what I was covering. Should I do? Pull myself a J. Too busy noticing my own retention of audience.
Everyone else is wrong, you are right. And number 10, a belief that the leaders of the cult have exclusive means to knowing the truth.
That was what he was talking about. No, it's just a fact when we say Earth's measured flat. That's not like some subjective truth that I can withhold temporarily. You know, you could find that out too if you weren't such a numpty. You wouldn't be looking at people and their behaviour if you actually wanted to know about whether or not Earth was flat. You just look at Earth and how it's measured. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to pretend like I'm the great I am, some intellectual, fantastical guy when it's taken me 10 years to get to the point where I can say it so concisely. But that's why I'm reiterating the point I made earlier, imploring the people who are around me for that amount of time to do the same. Because there are people like you that don't know Earth's measured flat and have come to it because that's how it's positioned, we call it the Feast of Nonsense, to make you think that you need to assess the people for their cult-like behaviour, as opposed to Earth and its measurements. Shout out to Unitox family. Go ahead.
It kind of sounds like that thing where, you know, you tell people Earth's flat, and obvious, you make it obvious to them that you know what you're talking about, and then they kind of give you that attitude of, oh, what makes you think you know something that I don't know? Like, why don't I know this? Or who do you think you are knowing something that I don't know? You know, gotten that attitude before coworkers, people, just talking to them about this shit. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but these are the guys who think that if they travel south, they're going down, when actually south or any azimuth is horizontal vector. They're begging the question by saying going down when they go south.
Yes. Antipodal. Shout out to Unitox Femu. What if the leader of my cult is the Atlantic Ocean? Cryptic as ever, Sasha. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Or the ground. I could kind of mess with that. The ground is the leader. The ground, the flat ground that I'm on. That's what dictates me being a flat earther. Not no guy, not a leader, right? Just the fact that it's flat and measured that way makes it good enough to to dictate what I believe or what I know.
There is a name. There is a name for that chocolate. Sea level cultist.
Oh, I see now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You must take faith in your true guru and leader of the flat Earth cult, the measured flat sea level used to describe heights of things. All hail sea level. Yeah, I see where you're going now.
Yeah, or the flat Earth itself, the ground, because that seems to be people get lost in all the maps and the models and shit. We're just talking about the ground. Yeah, I'll let the ground dictate what I think the ground is. Thanks.
Regardless of their qualifications, their knowledge on topics. Members believe everything that their leaders say comes from a place of them being an intellectual on the topic, or of them having a higher power to access information or understand the points they're explaining.
Sound familiar? Yeah, if you understood how the interferometry worked within the Michelson-Morley, then you would have this higher power understanding, and eventually it would lead to free energy. There's so much of it to extract, you just don't really understand. But for only $400, she'll thank you. You can find out the truth too. All sound familiar? As opposed to,
Yep.
What was that? You, as a globe believer, say Earth can't be flat. That sounds a bit like a false dichotomy because you've measured Earth flat with elevation angles. Let's define what an elevation angle is. It's a measurement of a flat earth that we've got right there, sir. That's not some hidden truth that we're offering about ether, is it? Or Bigfoot, or whatever bollocks that they talk about on the side that's now being chastised as shills. Oh, they also call us scammers, by the way, just to make that clear. These people that have got very cult-like behaviours being identified by Excise here. Cyber Waffle.
Now, so far in this video, I haven't mentioned flat earthers at all. But go back to the start of the video, uncover the right side of your screen, and you'll see all of the context that makes this perfectly apply to flat earth. And after you've watched that, come back to this point. Just a little note.
You can get away with that just about until he said flat earth, because that's a reification fallacy and it's anthropomorphization. You can't apply it to flat earth. It's not a person. They can't have cult-like behaviors in flat earth or the ocean and the sea level and it's chocolate and Sasha was saying, right? So no, but when you applied the stereotype fallacy, but for the fact that you had people like Dave Weiss's image and Jaron's and Witz's image flashing up as you were saying it, you can get away with it being applied to those specific individuals. Now, ultimately, you weren't. It was on the edit with pictures of them to give context, which is cool. You know, it's a great way of making a video. You know, great. But by the same token, you have just employed a stereotype fallacy if you apply it to flat earthers, which is ultimately what he's doing, isn't it? So I will still call it out for being a stereotype fallacy. This doesn't apply to us, as I identified as you were going through these cult-like behaviours. The people being called Chills, Jaron, Dave, Witsit, etc., do exhibit.
Note that I'm adding in the edit of this video. A lot of this video would be a stretch if these 10 things were things that I pulled out of my arse. But if you look online at any single article, source, or intellectual...
This weakens what you've just done, because what you're saying is, honestly, I haven't just made this stuff up. I did actually do a bit of background research before making this video. Well, just for your own benefit, you know, this is me paying it forward. You don't need to do this, right? It was clear from the words coming out of your mouth that you had researched this and were identifying key aspects of cult-like behaviour. You don't need to tell your audience, look, trust me, bro, and if you don't, check it out online. If people don't trust you, they will, I assure you, check out what you're saying. I absolutely assure you. But in terms of diluting it down by, you know, putting it up on screen and suggesting that they could be verified by a quick Google search actually makes you look weaker, just so you know.
That deals with cults and the deprogramming of people from cults, they can all agree on these 10 points. There's a few...
Yeah, I can, and he's right. I mean, just to give him that shit sandwich back, I have, you're right.
Variations in the lists, but most websites conclusively agree that these are the 10 most common traits of cults.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I'm finding you as my enemy quite useful to attack my enemy that calls me a scammer for all their cult-like behaviour that you've summarised. It was just very difficult for me to do it internally when I am a flat earther. So thanks. I'll share your link again. I can't believe this. I'm not normally anywhere near this positive when dealing with a Globe Believers video, am I? Let's be honest, this is a unique set of circumstances. Yes, Nathan, it absolutely is. Anyway, his link's going by in the stream, so check him out. His name is Cyber Waffle. Please let him know with a polite comment at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I do want to get through the rest of this video. I know we're coming up on the hour. Well, it's actually just gone an hour, but nevertheless, I do want to cover more of it, but I will still do my calls to action. So please leave him a comment. Let him have a like if you've enjoyed this video thus far. I certainly did and left him a like. Hopefully he'll get a bit of YouTube love from us going along and leaving him a few comments.
And all of these apply perfectly to Flat Earth. Over my last couple of videos venturing into the world of Flat Earthers, I've come across a lot of the same narratives repeatedly over and over again. The main one is that people that believe the Earth is a globe are following a religion, and more specifically, the religion...
Yeah, heliocentrism, it's got a name. It came from the Roman Catholic Church. If you'd have investigated the history, you'd find out that was absolutely the case.
Religion is science. Now, there will be people...
Sorry, go ahead. Was that one deck?
Yeah, I was just saying, he said it himself, people who believe the Earth is a globe. It is actually, it's a belief system. You have to just believe it's a globe because that's what you've been told.
Yeah, at the behest of a system developed for the Roman Catholic Church by Copernicus, Kepler, Huygens. You know, these are facts.
people that comment that this is a straw man argument. Now, out of 200 comments, 58 of them being comments from flat earthers, and 16 of those comments referencing some form of science being a religion or me towing the line of a religion being science, I think that's fair to say that this isn't a straw man argument.
And familiar? Why am I called a scammer? Let's put that in a different way, past tense. Why was I called a scammer? I'm still being called one, it's just the reasoning behind it has changed. Anybody? Why did Jaron call me a scammer?
Was it to do with the scientific method?
Yes,
We point
science.
out how science proves things, how it's an empirical method of proving things. Jaron called me a scammer as a result. This guy's criticism is to say the majority of flat earthers peddle the notion that globe Earth is a science cult. You following?
This accounts for a belief that's wider than just one or two people within the flat earth community. The problem with this argument is that science is something we can make a hypothesis on, and then we can test it to prove it or disprove it. Religion in itself struggles to coexist with science. But
Okay, well, ignoring his last statement. Correct. Yeah, he's using these words as strap lines, which is good because we can lean into them too, making you a useful adversary in this regard. Hypothesis construction. Let's just give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you know what that means. So a hypothesis, yeah, a prediction, a scientific prediction, something that predicts the cause of an effect you observe in nature. So he's talking about natural science. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not so far into the TFE claim to be experiment. What's an experiment? That's hypothesis actualization for this guy. Just in case you want a little nudge towards the fraud, as you did have TFE in your examples earlier in this video. Yeah, that's not an experiment, because hypothesis actualization is experiment, and that's not what you showed. Obviously, identifying your own cult that you might be in isn't something that's going to be of high priority when you're pointing out how wrong flat earthers are because they are in a cult. And you are correctly identifying certain cult-like aspects. When Jaron, Witsit, Dave exercise their scientism attack on globies, well, you're in a science cult. What are you talking about? Science proves things. They're just hijacking it. Point out how they're not actually using science, Jaron. No, Nathan, you're a scammer. Isn't that interesting?
on a very basic level, religion's purely...
No, you're interrupting him, not me. Go ahead.
So, yeah, so is this guy unknowingly tarring the same brush with science and the geometry of Earth? Unknowingly.
It might be a category error. It's too soon to say, and I can't remember from this. I think what he gets into next in the next 2 or 3 minutes is his projected fears, a bit like conspiracy cats, which is also very amusing. But I don't know is the honest answer. I could just use it for what it is when it comes to the behaviour of people like Jaron. Now that he's bringing it to the forefront of his suggestion that flat earthers are cult members. And Jaron's saying those words also, isn't he? I'm sure those words have come out of his mouth a few times in his goodbye letter.
Spiritual. Now, spirituality is something that cares about your feelings because fundamentally is based on your...
It's anthropomorphization again. Spirituality doesn't care about your feelings, right? It's not a man. It doesn't have lips, right? Stop turning these descriptions of feelings into men. Go ahead, Bondek.
I was going to say exactly the same thing, sorry.
I could just be linguistically poor, so...
your feelings. But the results of a well-carried-out scientific experiment couldn't care less about how you feel. Now, this...
second reification. Does science have lips to express that it doesn't care? What are you babbling about? It's a method.
Brings me to the big question. Is the Flat Earth movement a cult? I think, judging by the first half of the video, unequivocally yes.
Now, we'd have to agree if you keep it in the category he put it in. Flat Earth movement. Full stop. Yeah, the Flat Earth movement's a cult. Flat Earth is just a fact. It's measured flat. Earth is measured flat. You don't need me as a leader to know that and bugger off and deal with the rest of your life without any further consequence or interaction with me. However, people have monetized flat Earth movement and peddled ether, domes, ice walls, maps, all that crap, haven't they? And they've took money for it, with the hidden truth and a chastisement of anybody who stands in their way. This guy's right.
It is. But the bit I'm actually more interested in, and I think the most beneficial bit, is how do we stop people from falling into cults like this?
You can't, even from internally, as flat earthers that would garner the respect of the people seemingly in the cult that you've described. We appeal to those people and they just behave like people being triangulated by narcissists. They're useful idiots, flying monkeys, whatever you want to call them. They'll turn around and scorn you also. How dare you attack my hero, Jaren? So you can't. That's the honest answer.
Now, I'm not qualified in any way to give my opinion on someone's mental health.
Oh, right. Well, qualifications aside, I've got 10 years of experience trying to appeal to numpties that disseminate shite. From the day I entered here, I had Jesse Spots talking about clone centres, suggesting that Taylor Swift was a clone and that the Mandela effect was something I need to be concerning myself with as a flat earther. It infuriated me from day one, and here we are 10 years later. So I might not have a qualification in it, but I can definitely give my opinion with a very strong justification in it.
Health, well-being, whatever. This is just my channel for me waffling about my thoughts and opinions. And before we kick this next...
Done a good job. Everybody agree? This guy's about to fall down the hill of flat earth. In 5 years, he might become a complete anti-flat earther. He might end up on our side when he realises Earth's measured flat and he's just got a belief based on those measurements given to him by the Roman Catholic Church in a different cult. Who knows? Who cares? But as just a flat... I was about to say as a flat earther. As just a YouTuber... Good job, mate. I like your sound. I like the way you look. I think it's cool, unusual. You've got to get something to hook people in when you're a small channel. Props. Anybody else disagree? I think this guy did a pretty good job.
Yep, I agree.
Next little bit of the video off, I do need to say, of course I make jabs towards flat earth, but this half of the video is genuinely very serious and there are ramifications for people's well-being that's dependent on how this part of the video
Here comes the projection.
Goes. Like I said earlier in the video, people tend to fall into cults and things like the flat earth because of a genuine feeling of mistrust of the government or inadequacy as a person. Maybe.
Nah. I mean, again, I didn't fall into the cult, if you want to call flat earth that. I mean, I immediately got ostracized because I challenged some of the leaders. So, I mean, I don't need any self-esteem from others. So I'm all right, actually, to be perfectly honest. So no, again, this doesn't apply to us, but I can appreciate how others with low self-esteem might have found their way into Jaren's little cult.
Maybe struggling to make friends, maybe not been accepted within communities.
Yeah, I don't necessarily care if I'm accepted into a given community either. Go ahead, whoever it is from G+ with their mic open.
People spewing nonsense from space.
Oh man, your mic is a total train wreck. We're getting 10% of what you're saying, Chocolate.
Yeah, something's clicking when you're trying to speak.
Flat earthers, former members of the flat earth community, have spoken about this very bravely so on their social media channels in the past, how they were in a position in their life where they were looking for answers and the flat earth community promised them answers. Now, naturally, a lot of people within the flat earth community...
Okay, do you want to back that and show it, or what? I mean, I don't disbelieve you. You don't have to automatically assume that everybody's a bullshitter and a charlatan, but it would be nice to actually have some of your unsubstantiated claims, your baseless assertions, backed with something, so we could see that. I mean, I was preparing to play a little violin music. My name's Tony, and I used to be a flat earther. I was very down on my luck. I didn't have any friends. I had no sex life, and I smelt of urine, and I've got bad breath. But then I found these conferences, and there was lots of other people there in open-toed sandals with bad breath just like me. I made loads of friends. But we didn't get it.
Community are naturally predisposed to believing in conspiracy theories.
Now, who's going to disagree with him here? The problem is every one of us cannot deny that we've found our way to this subject through the paths that were paved for us to find it. And they are conspiratorial. I found my way here through subliminal messages and narcissism. Other people found their way through 9/11 truth and Sandy Hook. You know what I mean? We're all predisposed to being conspiratards. And so's this guy, as we'll find out in a moment.
In fact, it's very rare to find a flat earther that also doesn't believe that 9/11 was an inside job.
Sorry, 7-Eleven was an inside job, was it? Part-time job, I thought.
Also doesn't believe that the moon landings never happened. That also doesn't believe that people have been into space.
Okay, so let's just deal with a few of these before we get into this guy's projection of his own conspiratard nature. Men haven't been to the moon or space because space that you think they're in currently, present tense, for about 5 more seconds, is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, entropic law, gas dispersion. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas you are breathing currently would have dissipated into that area of volume long before you had an opportunity to breathe it. That's what gas does. It disperses into any given area it has available to it. If the sky was a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, ever expanding vast space, then gas would be filling it. Now, you believe that because of claimed to be pictures from Narnia. That's what we call space, where men are in suits that contain the gas they must breathe as they look back on clouds next to a black area of vacuum with it not dispersing, violating that second law of thermodynamics that describes entropic gas dispersion. So no, there is no sky vacuum. Therefore, ipso facto, there is no trips to the moon. There is no orbital motion. There is no heliocentric motion. Everything about your belief, based on flat Earth measurements to create it, based on Copernicus's use of the angle measurements to the stars taken from a flat Earth to create a motion of a sphere Earth, also derived in radial value measurement with angles to the stars also to create that minimal and turn it into a sphere and put it in motion around the sun. For all of that stuff that is based on a flat Earth that you require in your belief that you've been peddled in your cult.
There's a lot of conspiracies that have to fall into, let's not even get started on the pandemic, but there's a lot of conspiracy theories that have to fall into.
You notice how animated his hands are getting now? Yeah, that's because this is this guy, isn't it? This is Conspiracy Cats Part 2, with him now projecting and spewing out his own concerns.
Place for a flat earther to arrive at the conclusion in their own head that the earth is flat, and usually this is over the process of a couple of months to a couple of years.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the people you are detailing accurately, they never get to find out it actually is flat. They're kept in perpetual belief by charlatans and scammers that just want their money, that tell them that science is actually fraud, that scientism is something to be afraid of and challenged, when science and the scientific method is what has advanced humanity throughout history, with proof. The empirical nature therein has advanced us, but we're challenging it as flat earthers, making us look very stupid. Yeah, those people you're accurately describing. But us, we just know Earth's measured flat. It's not really that big a deal. For you too, I'll say it to you, as you may well come and actually listen to this. You might be listening live now, for all I know. You can get on with your day. You don't have to stay here. You don't have to give me money either. Yeah, Earth's measured flat. Just check out any of the Earth measurements. That guy that came earlier, he doesn't have to stay and give me money for me to tell him that his example that he gave me about our Earth not being flat, based on taking flat Earth elevation angle measurements and then applying them, that's calculations, to his globe, and then suggesting that it won't produce a flat map when all maps are flat, so that they can functionally operate with these flat Earth measurements that we must take and do use. Now you know. I said it would be about 5 seconds. It was about a minute and a half, but you now know Earth's measured flat. You don't have to pay me. It's all right. It's free. It's on me. This one's for free.
And there's a big misconception in the flat earth community that if you don't believe in the flat earth, you're a left-wing snowflake, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I didn't know that was the case. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't tend to hang around with the flat earth cultists. That's why the TFE non-experiment pseudoscience that it actually is has been completely ineffective in terms of my audience retention numbers, my growth. In fact, quite the contrary, it's had a massive impact on how big I've got. I've grown bigger. Yeah, because all the numpties who believe it's a flat earth were told to bugger off, so they didn't actually get to ever find out how Earth's measured flat from us. The cult leaders who wanted people to be talking about 9/11 truth and Sandy Hook and all the things that you were talking about, that's shite we don't talk about here. It sounds like you're worried about the pandemic. No, I couldn't give a shit. Stupid nonsense. All of it. The stupid nonsense conspiracies that you listed, like 9/11 and the pandemic. I couldn't give a crap about any of it. You that have to worry about that, not me. I don't worry about any of that nonsense. What we do is talk about how Earth is measured. Flat. And then you just use your opponent's examples of how they measured it. So no truth, no trust, no nothing's needed.
And I've had these comments on my videos over the past couple of days, and to be honest, they don't faze me because I'm a freedom of speech advocate and I lean just right of centre. And if I lived in America, I'd probably be a Trump voter. I mean, let's be honest, out of all the people in the United States of America...
Again, none of this concerns me in the slightest. I've never voted. I don't pay attention to mainstream media. Half the time, I don't know who the Prime Minister is.
Why were Trump and Harris the two best people that you can conjure up?
Well, who cares?
And that's why this country's in the state it's in.
What, because I don't
because
care?
Because of that apathy.
Yeah, complete apathy, yeah. I've never voted, never concerned myself with it. When people start talking about it, I hear white noise.
But we won't get into that. But I
do have my reasons for that. I'm just not going to talk about them on a show about flat Earth. Right? You can say that my non-involvement is also a statement in politics, isn't it? And it is, and I appreciate that. But this is just not my bag. He's associating certain types of political views with flat earthism. It's just a glaring stereotype, a gross generalization.
Generally have a distaste for the government. I don't like the taxation systems, especially in the UK. It's brutal. Overall, I have a general distrust.
I mean, again, I don't care. I have to pay tax. You know, because I don't like it. Like you, mate. Do you know what I did? I paid an accountant. Then I never have to think about it. Occasionally my wife says, have you got this receipt for this? And I go, no. I'll have to print it out. Because no, I don't care. So yeah, if you don't like tax, get an accountant. Get a good accountant, and then they'll hopefully cost you a bit less money as well. Me, I've got a cheap accountant.
Distrust of the government, but with a lot of flat earthers, that distrust of the government tends to lean more into...
So what distrust of the government? What's he babbling about? Have I ever expressed my distrust in government? I mean, I've expressed that your average Joe understands at a base level that people lie and government's run by people. Yeah. But as an entity that I can reify into a thing that's got lips that I shouldn't trust, it's like, no, there's people, and people can be untrustworthy. And you should be wary of what people tell you. That's it. But, I don't know, this, again, bundling it all together like government shouldn't be trusted and generally flat earthers think that you can't trust them. It's like, what is the comparison to say that we should trust everything they say? That would be equally dangerous, would you not agree? Go ahead.
He's spewing the same nonsense that Space.com a long time ago spewed with their little article called How to Debate a Flat Earther. They concluded with flat earthers suffer from distrust of the system. So that's why we're flat earth. We don't care about evidence or arguments, just trust. That was the statement from that. And he sounds exactly like that.
Rather than just distrust, they utilize that distrust to fabricate things. Obviously, we can talk about 9/11 and jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. No, but burning jet fuel does weaken them.
See? So you're a conspiratard, mate. You got an opinion on this shite, have you? Oh, right. Well, you know what? Because you're a conspiratard idiot, I'm just going to disavow everything you've said up until now. Yeah? Because why wouldn't I? You're a conspiratard.
And the weight of concrete on top of them makes them sag and eventually pull away from the edges.
Because you've got a degree in concrete and steel and you know all about this stuff, conspiratard, do you? What a clown. This is why I laughed. I waited till now to point out why I was chuckling, because I knew what was coming later when I first watched it. I was like, why has he dropped 9/11 in here? He's obviously got an opinion on it. No, I don't give a crap about this stupid nonsense that you have obviously decided to engage in and have an opinion on.
And collapse. Little basic bits of physics and material property science can explain how that works, but there is absolutely...
Oh, it can it? Does that have lips? Get it on! Get Mr. Material Science on to tell us. What's he babbling about? Oh dear, it all goes downhill from here, by the way.
no reasoning and no logical way to communicate with flat earthers, because people that normally are well accepting of any form of science or experiment will have a prediction, they'll test it, and if it doesn't work out, they then readjust their assessment of the situation based on the fact they were wrong. With flat earthers, it's not about proving the earth is flat. They're trying to disprove the world is a globe. I'm not
Again, I said it was getting worse from here. It actually falls back in line with what we say. Yeah, what have we been saying for the last year? Don't lead with Earth's not a sphere. You just get people thinking about how Earth's a sphere. And that's the shtick of these people who are now walking away from flat Earth. No. They never were flat Earthers. What they actually were was anti-globers. So they spend the majority of their time telling you how Earth's not a sphere. Now, that, again, isn't us. You, X-Eyes, Cyber Waffle, found out today how Earth is measured, didn't you? Yeah? I'm not interested in telling you how Earth's not a sphere. I demarcate all the argument points that led us to where we are now in housekeeping. That's why I kept it nice and concise, having a good idea what today's show was actually going to be about, having watched this entire video preemptively.
Not seeing any real strong arguments for the earth being flat, because the truth is, it doesn't matter. A flat earther will believe the earth is flat regardless, because
again, maybe that's true. If they'd have been exposed to the people that actually knew it was flat and could show it was flat and offered measurements of Earth being flat, or utilised our opponents who believe Earth's a globe because of their Roman Catholic use of flat Earth measurements to create a globe to believe in, if any of them came to us, they'd have just found out Earth is actually flat and they'd have proof to get on with their day with. It's unfortunate that the cult you're describing discourage people from coming places like this to find that information out. Things are changing, though. 150 people watching. Woohoo! 153. Go ahead, whoever that was in Discord or G+.
I don't think he understands the difference between knowing the earth is flat and believing the earth is flat.
No, because that's what it's exposed to. The Feast of Nonsense is designed to keep flat earthers being the latter, people who just believe it. Now, we don't fit in that category, and by chance, we've been ostracized from the flat earth community early on, the one he's describing, for challenging the leaders, just like he describes cult behavior is like. And since we've left, the people who remain in that cult have been discouraged from coming anywhere near us, perpetually kept in the belief of a flat earth so that they can be monetized by scammers and grifters. And what are we called? Scammers and grifters, for pointing it out. It's all very cult-like. But, you know, Neil, he's right for the category that is stereotyped. It's just not us, is it? Because he's continually talking about flat earth believers. Well, that's how we distinguish ourselves, isn't it? I'm not a believer in flat earth. I don't believe it's flat. If I did, I could, like Jerem, walk away from it. I know it's flat.
Exactly.
We're the knowers. We know it's flat.
But that was the key point, what Nathan said. If you just believe, you could just walk away from it. Because I don't believe this anymore. We can't. Because we know.
tells them it is. That's what, over a period of months, days, weeks, years, decades, that's what they've been essentially brainwashed into believing. Now, this brings me on to a fact. You know what? I'll do a separate video about Jaren. Jaren is.
Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was just going to point out he's going to need a flat horizontal plane for hours, days, months, and years to measure the time.
Because recently there's been some developments, like him announcing that he's no longer a flat earther, and I feel like I've multiple thoughts on it, good and bad, so we'll make that a separate video. But yeah, flat earth movement is a cult, and if you're already deep in flat earth, you're never ever gonna come out. Like, I mean, maybe you will, but the chances are so slim.
It'd be interesting to see what you say. So if you're deep in flat earth, there's no way out, right? You're just going to believe it anyway. So what will you do? Now you know it's measured flat, and you've seen a globe believer who's published on Metabunk, like held in high regard, published on a very globe-centric website that's there to offer you personally the answers to difficult questions we may raise. That'd be Metabunk. How that guy came, and it turned out he was measuring Earth flat in the very first part of his example. What will you do now you know it's flat? Will you run like that guy ran? Diego, go ahead. Yeah, you go. You're hot micing. There you go. Okay, we'll just get through it. Hopefully someone will sort
Slim.
that out.
However, if you're going down that pipeline of believing in the flat earth, please make sure you can identify the situations that you're in that are leading to that. Because it's
Identify the situation you are in that leads you to believing Earth is flat, and deal with that and identify it. Okay, that's excellent advice. Thank you, Mr. Psychologist.
But you could be in a situation where you're in an aeroplane flying from A to B, and then take a look at the pitch data of that situation, and then you would realise that you're flying over a horizontal plane of reference to get the pitch data.
That's a good point. Let's ask him how we would deal with this. So for a theoretical, hypothetical example, like within your suggestions there. So we come across a situation where we're looking at the NTSB official data in regards to aeroplanes flying over the flat Earth we atop, and it's shown in the measurements that the plane is pitch up with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. The aeroplane is pitch up with respect to a horizontal plane of the Earth. Now, at that point, when I look at the facts that Earth is measured flat in the pitch data from the NTSB, do I start to check myself before I wreck myself as a flat earther when I see the measurements of Earth in black and white from a very official source like the NTSB? What is a man to do when that is the scenario? Maybe you can tell us, Cyber Waffle. What should I do when I look at the flat Earth measurements in the NTSB data and I start thinking, Earth is flat in these measurements? What would I do in that scenario, Cyber Waffle? Maybe you can leave a comment and let me know what I'd do in that troubling scenario where potentially I might think Earth's flat when I see it's measured flat in very official data. Let us know in the comments.
It's not about the shape of the Earth, it's more of a control dynamic thing.
That's a category error. Shape? Sorry, flat's an aspect. Wow.
Where people are telling you all of these bad and horrible things about the world when they're just not true.
So what did I tell you that was horrible? I told you I couldn't give a toss. Didn't know who the Prime Minister was most of the time because I don't have a TV. And the Earth's measured flat with things like elevation angles. Was that me telling you devastating, horrible things?
There is a beautiful, amazing world out there.
Notice I flipped from it being about Jaron now because he subverted that by saying he's going to make a new video. So I'll just take this as being directed to the audience, which is me. So I'll just respond in the first person.
There that you can go and visit. Yes, you can go to Antarctica. And I feel like flat earthers, like for me, the globe is just the Earth is round. That's it. And I don't.
Oh, you're just a zealot then? So you just automatically assume that what you've been told by your Church of England, presumably schooling? All right, so the Roman Catholic Church that invented this paradigm for you to believe in and was educated to you in your church school, you just accept because Earth is round and that's your justification for accepting this. What about looking into how that round Earth that the church school you went to taught you came to fruition through measurements? Like that guy who was published on Metabunk, you'd find out that Earth was flat for you to hold that belief. You fundamentalist religious zealot. Let us know what you're going to do now you know that it's measured flat to create that globe. Maybe look at Copernicus or Kepler or Huygens.
Sounds like a very culty thing to say.
Again, Chocolate?
So it sounds like a very culty thing to say. I just know the Earth is round. Oh, yeah. How do you know that again? Oh, you were told and taught that? Oh, okay.
You mean a globe, but yes, I knew the sentiment you were driving at.
Don't make my whole life thinking about it. It's not my personality. This channel.
Sorry, projection much? You've just edited a video together about it. Don't think about it much. I just dedicate some of my time to making and editing and publishing a video where I'm talking about and discussing it and thinking about it. And obviously you put some thought and effort into thinking about it because you produced a decent video. But now you're disclaiming that you haven't given it much thought and you don't think about it. I see. Sounds like you're a liar.
Is my channel where I just talk about shit. My main channel is my gaming channel, and that's where I find my enjoyment. But for flat earthers, it becomes the personality.
Really? Sorry, how do I get a personality out of Earth being measured flat? Now, I get my personality from just generally being a cool guy. Like being ace, generally. That's where I get my personality from. Sod all to do with Earth being measured flat. That doesn't really form many of my personality. I mean, parts of it in terms of how aggressive I am do get formed from the zealots who come here to tell me that after they measure Earth flat, they can calculate a globe with those measurements. Like the guy did earlier. That kind of has an influence on my personality in the moment. But after the fact, I kind of, like you, am actually telling the truth when I say this. Don't give it a second thought. I do when it's people like Jaren. I'll lie if I say that without caveat. Yeah, when people who are seemingly supposed to be on my side get told that they're making a devastating mistake that might make everybody in the community look stupid when they decry science, call it scientism, and tell us that we should be afraid of it and challenge it. Yeah, things like that, when they're challenged by people who are seemingly on my own side, they do upset me. I'll be honest. Go ahead, Elvis. 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 Elvis, you're hot micing. Elvis. Elvis.
And that's why they drive away their family and friends. And people don't want to hang
Right, drive away my family and friends. What are you talking about? I haven't driven away any of my family and friends.
out with someone that constantly bangs on about how the earth is flat. And it's not because people...
I don't bang on constantly about how Earth's flat. I make YouTube videos about it so I can monetize my understanding of how Earth is measured flat to put food on the table and pay the mortgage. But in terms of my general demeanour when I go out, I am not in the slightest bit motivated to tell the people around me about Earth is flat. I sometimes think about what I'll do if it comes up in conversation and I'm forced into a position where I'd have to lie, but for disclosing it. I'll think about that. Just clear my throat. So yeah, I will think about those things because I go out and I interact with people in society. For example, when I'm at my kids' classes, yeah, I think, what if one of the other parents asks me what I do for a living? Fairly reasonable question. I'll have to offer them an answer that doesn't invite A, ridicule, or B, a string of questions that might end up in a debate when I'm sat on a couch waiting for my kid to finish an art lesson, for example. So what do you do for a living? I run a debate show on YouTube about cosmology. Cosmology? A vague enough word for people to not ask a follow-up question.
in the real world are all NASA shills being paid. It's because they...
No, that's a stereotyping fallacy that we break down as we did earlier with an example of sky vacuums violating the second law of thermodynamics. Anybody who claims to be in the sky vacuum's a liar. So we can put actual caveats around things that you're saying by stereotype and generalization. Now, we, flat earthers, wouldn't say that all of NASA are liars. No, that's two stereotyping generalization fallacies for two different groups of people. No, what we would say is anybody who claims to have been in Narnia, that's a sky vacuum violating natural law, is a liar.
They feel embarrassed. It's because they feel embarrassed to tell you that you're wrong, and they don't want to argue with you because your friends and family do care about you. But
yeah, they cared about me before being a flat earther, during being a flat earther, and after, when they presumably figured it out too.
You're wrong. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
It's an absolute pleasure. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. His name is Cyber Waffle. Very enjoyable coverage of his video about cults when it's not referring to us, and we can point out how. In the vein of us needing to just trust him, I give you Mr. Cheswick, and trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro, I'm in the know, so please don't call me fake. 'Cause you don't know the things I know, or how much cash I make. I promise you, my heart is true, trust in the word that's sweet. Give me a week, a thing to say, it's for this year to speak. Let's be roll. Enjoy the show. Please don't say I'm a snake. Please got the joke. Go with the flow. Chill out and take a break. I promise you, my heart is true. Trust in the word that's sweet. Give me a wave. Go back to sleep. It's for this year to speak.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels as I exit from Mr. Cheswick's Trust Me Bro. So I'll put a link in the live stream chat so you can check out Mr. Cheswick's latest dance moves and video from the TFE non-experiment. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, joined as a member, gifted memberships and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.